Today we're talking about a simple training exercise that's going to make you automatically a better photographer. Now what we're talking about is something that I've personally used many times to train my eye to see compositionally how my lenses work the best. Now whether or not you're a brand new photographer or a seasoned photographer, this training exercise will help you. And if you haven't done it, I highly recommend take some notes and go out there and try it out for yourself, because I guarantee it's gonna make you see things differently. I'm not gonna keep you in suspense like some YouTubers might. What this is an exercise in focal length and aperture. It's gonna help you see how those two things change the point of view and perspective of your subject. So next time you're in a situation where you see a subject and you're really like captivated by it, you're gonna know what lens to grab for and how to set it up right. It actually happens a lot where I'll go out there and see something that catches my eye, and you've probably heard me say it, I just don't have the right lens to shoot this. And how I know that is nothing special. It's just that I have done this exercise enough to where I understand how certain subjects, how I want them to be seen, and then what lens I need in order to make that happen. So if you want to follow along with this training exercise, you're going to need every lens you have access to, which is why I'm huffing and puffing more than normal, because my camera bag right now is overloaded with camera gear. Whew. So pack it all up, go out to a big open area where you can walk around, find a subject, or place a subject that you can focus in on. Now this is going to work best if it's a single subject, not a group, not too many. And it's going to work best if the subject is not far away, because you're going to want to be able to walk right up to it. It's also going to work best if your subject is not too small and not too big. And above all, make sure that the subject is not going to be moving around. So no wildlife, no people, a stationary object. So this little pine tree right here is going to work out perfectly for this exercise. It's small enough that it's easy to fit in my frame. There's plenty of space all around it, so I'll be able to back way up when I'm at higher focal lengths or longer lenses. And it's enough of a clear subject that it's going to stand out from the background. So yes, finally, we found our subject. As a disclaimer, we're going to be taking a lot of pictures. It doesn't matter if they're in RAW. In fact, if you shoot JPEG, you won't have to worry about editing, because all we're interested in is the compositional elements in our frame. So shoot in whatever format you feel like you can work the fastest and see the best. So if it's black and white, if it's JPEG, who cares? I'm going to shoot JPEG. I'm not going to worry about editing, because all I care about is how my subject looks in frame. It's a very warm day out here in the foothills. The sun is just glorious. Even though we're still in the dead of winter, it sure doesn't feel like it. So we picked a perfect day to come out here and do this. Bring my GoPro up higher. So I'm about as far back from my subject as I can get without falling off the edge and landing in a bunch of rose bushes. And I have with me, in addition to the Sony kit, my Fuji, because this has my longest lens in it. This lens is a 70 to 300 on APS-C, so that 300, the equivalent is about 450. An extraordinarily long lens, almost too long even for this distance. So I'm gonna have to back up even more. I'm gonna always suggest starting at your longest lens and moving in to your widest lens. And what we're doing here is we're not just going to be changing out lenses while standing in the same spot. Yes, that gives you a nice perspective, but it doesn't really show you what's happening with each lens. What I'm trying to do is fill the frame with my subject, so that as I move closer, I'm continuing that same filling of the frame with the same subject. So it's the same subject taking up the same amount of the frame with every lens change. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about as we get into it. But right now, probably going to have to take a couple steps back. Alright, so I'm as far back as I can get. Hopefully you can tell. One more step and I'm going down the gully. But I can't zoom all the way into 300. It's just too tight, so I'm more at like 275 or 250. So almost there. Still a good idea of the focal length range. So I'm at my farthest distance. Now set your camera to aperture priority auto ISO. I just want my camera to figure those things out for me so I can focus in on focal length and aperture, because those are the major things that affect the composition of your frame. Shutter speed, that affects something else, and that'll be for a future video. Okay, I'm at 5.6, as wide open as this is going to get. I'm going to take that shot. Now, I'm going to set the aperture to the middle of the range, so we'll say about f11. And now we'll go ahead and set it to as narrow an aperture as possible. So now that I've got my shots at as long as I can go, I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit closer, go to about 200 millimeters, and try to get the tree to look the same in frame as it did in that shot at 250. All right, it's about here. It's about 10 feet from the last shot. And I'm gonna go ahead and do the same exact exercise. Everything's still on auto. We're gonna shoot it wide open, middle, and then as closed as possible in the aperture. Now let's go to 135. Okay, it looks to be about right here. Okay, wide open. You getting the idea here? I mean, as fun as it is to watch me walk back and forth and take the same 3 photos of the same subject, I'm going to go ahead and skip you ahead so that you don't have to sit through this and watch this whole process. It's going to be a while, so yeah, I'll check in with you in a little bit. Just like that, we're done. We've gone from all the way over here at 300 millimeters to right here at 14 millimeters and everything in between. Now the experiment does not need to stop there. We can keep going. In fact, we should keep going, because now that we've shot everything at roughly a level angle, what we really need to do is shoot as high as we can reach and as low as we can reach, and just see how much that affects the image as well. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the video of that, but let me just show you some examples at some key focal lengths so you get to see what I'm talking about. You see what I mean by completely changing the perspective up and down? We change the image as well. Now, the further back you get, the less it'll make a difference, but especially when you're real close to your subject, like within 85 millimeters, shooting down low creates a completely different feel than shooting up above. And you don't have to stop there. You can keep going with this exercise. Imagine if you were to circle the subject and shoot it from different angles. Imagine if you were to shoot a pair of subjects or multiple subjects. Now that you've done this with one subject, you can start applying this to all kinds of things. But what this is doing is it's training our eyes to see how much aperture and focal length completely alter the image, how much your distance from the subject changes the way it looks, changes the background and how close the background appears to be. So now next time you're looking at a subject and you're going, I love the way that thing looks. How can I capture it in such a way that says this? You've now experimented with these focal lengths and these apertures, and you can say, I know exactly which lens I need to grab for. I know exactly what aperture to set it to achieve what I'm trying to. Do you see how helpful this can be? If you're dependent on weather and light, this is where you're going to be able to speed up your process because you've done the training ahead of time. Now you know exactly what to do. I hope this was helpful to you as you're getting into photography, or, let's say you've been in photography for a long time and you just instinctively grab certain lenses. This might inspire you to experiment with different lenses than you're used to. My whole hope is just that, we keep learning and we keep growing and we keep trying new things with our cameras and our lenses. Because bottom line is, the less you have to think about, what lens, what aperture, what settings, the more you'll be out there enjoying just the journey of photography. Let me know if you found this experiment helpful. Let me know if you actually went out and did this. And if so, I'd love to see some of the results. That's all we got for today. Thanks again for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.